Welcome back to another episode of the Second Half Podcast. I'm your host, Jabari Saunders, and we got another great episode. Before we get started into another great conversation, hit the like, follow, subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to check us out on the merch side as well. Hit the link right there below. Without further ado, I got none other than Dr. Lloyd Walton. He's another Chicago native, NBA basketball player in the 1976 draft. Like we talked about, third-round pick. There wasn't a third-round pick since then. So this shows how far back and the wealth of knowledge that he has. We get to talk about his journey, not only into the NBA, but also what he's doing with so many athletes beyond. He spent over 25 years working with athletes in their transition. So, Dr. Lloyd Walton, thank you for jumping on the Second Half Podcast. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm great, man. Thanks for inviting me. This is an opportunity to chop it up a little bit, to share a little bit about my journey, what I've done and what I'm going to do, and just to have a conversation about basketball and other things that wrap around sports, particularly in Chicago.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and start with that. Like, where are you from? Where did the journey for you start at?
Well, let me say this because most people don't realize that I was actually born and lived in Chicago, right? I was born at Providence Hospital. My first address was 5313 Calumet. Okay, and most people don't realize that, but I went and I lived with my aunt and uncle who lived in Chicago Heights when I was in the second grade. Okay, so my first time seeing a basketball and hearing a basketball was on the playground, probably about 10, 11 years old, and the thing that got me more than anything else was back then we had chain nets. We didn't have nylon nets. And when that ball went through, you hit that ching, and I was like,
ching.
Yeah, how did he make that happen, right? And I'm watching these guys, and so I fell in love with wanting to learn the game at that point. And I threw everything into it. But it was back then, basketball wasn't a big deal. It wasn't on TV or anything like that. We just played because we had fun, and it was with your friends on the playground, that kind of thing. I was very fortunate to have some really, really good instructors. I don't call them just coaches, instructors, because in my grammar school we had a coach that would make you sit down and listen to these Bible studies, okay, before practice started, okay, and that's why
that was your entry into the game. So was that essentially who was the one to put the ball in your hands to give you that direction to guide you in there?
Not really. I had a friend who lived a block from me. I lived at one end, he lived at the other end, and his dad was the coach of all our sports, baseball, football, basketball, the whole line. Okay. And he put the ball in my hand, Frank Weekly, Bill Weekly's dad. And I had an interesting introduction, I would say, in the first game that I went to. Because we didn't have practice. We just showed up.
Show up and go.
Yeah. and he started me, right? I don't know why he started me. I don't know. So I'm starting. I go out there and we get the tip. It comes to me and I drive down. I'm driving. I get through some people. Man, I take my shot. And everybody started laughing. Why? Because I shot it at the wrong basket.
The wrong basket.
So that was the beginning, man. And because people laughed, I felt so bad. I said, you know what? I'm gonna learn this game. I'm gonna practice every day. I'm gonna go where they're teaching it and stuff like that. And so that's kind of what happened. But I did it with my friends. It wasn't like it was just me trying to do this, right? All of my friends played ball. We played everything together, football, baseball, and basketball. So basketball is just a thing that I fell in love with, even though I played football and baseball up until, my freshman year in high school.
Okay. So take me through that. Like, what was that kind of work ethic even growing up to help better your career? And you said playing multi-sports, like you obviously had to have some type of discipline in there, right?
I don't think we call. Let me tell you this, man. Jabari, your family, your parents and stuff back then just said, get out the house and go play, okay?
Go play.
Right. That's what we did, right?
That's
and so when it was throwing the ball around, we going to the park, we playing a little baseball. We play strikeout, right?
Yeah.
We at the playground, we shooting hoops. So it wasn't necessarily, the discipline didn't come in until I got to high school. That's when I first understood that you have to have some discipline. There's going to be some accountability. You're going to have to develop a work ethic if you want to get better. But prior to that, man, it was just having fun with my friends. When we played in grammar school, we had a team, but nobody really thought about we were going to be taking this any further than just, grammar school. Yeah. We did get a chance to see those guys who were in high school, and then you begin to say, man, I'd like to be on the high school team, but what does that mean, right? I went to Bloom High School, my
Oh,
freshman
really?
year. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was
Started
wondering,
out,
it's like, okay,
go
you
ahead.
started over at Bloom.
Started out at Bloom, man. I'm in Chicago Heights. So a lot of crazy things are happening. And my aunt, my mother, my grandmother, I call that my tag team that raised me. They said,
Okay.
things are not good out here, man. We got to get you out of this environment. They sent me to boarding school in North Carolina in the middle of my freshman year.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
So I'm in boarding school at Sedalia, North Carolina, a school that I didn't hate the school. I just hated being away from my friends, right?
Yeah.
All my friends, all the familiarity, all of that stuff, my own room in my house, my own TV, all that kind of stuff. And so when my mom took me there, the first day we got there, I met with the dean, who was also the basketball coach. And he said, man, your record says, you're a pretty good athlete. And I'm thinking like, my record? How did he get my record? How does he know this, right? So anyway, he tells me to come to practice like 3 or 4 days later. I go to practice. He puts me on the team. We got a game 2 days later. I travel with the team for the game, and I'm just sitting on the bench. I don't know these guys. They don't know me.
Yeah.
So I sit on the bench, and he put me in the game bout with 2 minutes to go in the first half. And I hit a couple baskets, right? So now, hey, he's like, well, this guy might be able to play. We come out to second half, and I notice now a couple guys on the team weren't so friendly. And you know what that's about. Now I'm taking somebody else's minutes. They don't know me. I just got here, right?
Just got there. You done took somebody else's spot.
Yeah, and I just want to play. Anyway, end of the game comes. I think it's about 2 or 3 minutes left. He finally put me back in the game, and I go off, man. I don't know how. I might score 6 or 7 hoops, right? And we win the game. Now, the next day, they write it in the school paper. So now I got all these friends that I didn't have before the game, right? Now everybody wants to be friends. But on one part, it was cool because now I'm popular and what have you, which made it a little easier in terms of my transition being there. But I hated it, man. Jabari, I hated being away from home. So right before we got out of school, right when we got out of school, I went home and I had to go back to summer school because I had missed a couple classes. So I'm begging my mom, don't make me go back. Please don't make me go back. She's like, no, you got to go back because you missed some classes, So I said, well, Mom, let's make a deal. If I go down there and I get 2 A's, would you let me come back and re-enroll in Bloom? She knew I couldn't get no 2 A's, so she's like, yeah, sure, get the 2 A's. Jabari, I aced them mothers, man.
You like, I know how to get myself about this jam. I'm about to get these A's.
I got the A's. She let me re-enroll in Bloom, and I started back out of Bloom. Now, this is late August, September, right before school starts. I'm in the hood at a party in the basement, and one of the brothers from the block comes and say, man, this white dude outside looking for you. I'm like, oh man, what did I do? And I wasn't a bad, I wasn't a bad kid, so I'm like, but anytime the police showed up back time in our hood, something ain't right.
Right.
So, and I'm thinking it's the police. He said, white dude though. So I go outside and the guy says, hey, you remember me? And I'm like, yeah, I seen you around. It was the assistant coach from Mount Carmel High School. He said, man, I've been to your aunt and uncle's house who I told you I was raised by. And we called your mom and grandmother in Chicago. We're going to give you a scholarship. Now, Jabari, let me just say, man, I don't know nothing about no scholarship, nothing like that. Hey, what are you talking about, dude? So he says, come on, get in the car with me. And we go, I said, well, look, I don't know you like that, but I'll meet you at my house. I ain't getting in no car with you. So I get a half a block from the house, and I realize he's been there because my aunt and uncle were elderly people, and the lights were all on. I was like, oh, man, he really been here. So I go in, my aunt's sitting in the kitchen. She said, first thing she says, call your mom. She handed me the phone. I'm like, oh, God. I call my mom, but my grandmother answers and says, I love you. This is the best thing for you. Here's your mom. I'm like, what's going on? Yep. Mom gets on the phone. Son, I've talked to some people. This is going to be a great opportunity for you to be educated. You're going to learn so much. It's going to change your life. I'm like, Mom, what did I do? Why are you doing this to me?
Yeah.
She said, you didn't do anything. But also, Jabari, I'm hearing the coach talking to my uncle in the other room. And I hear him say something about ties, right? So, I'm not going to disobey my mom. I got to go to Mount Carmel. I just don't know. So I walk into the living room where my uncle and the coach is. And my uncle's coming out of the bedroom with some ties, And I'm like, what ties? So I'm like, what's going on? So the coach says, well, you got to wear a tie every day. A tie? And it's all boys, and it's Catholic. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm Baptist, right? I want to wear a polo, man. And I love girls. Why are you doing this to me, right?
Right.
But Jabari, I don't want to get caught up and get emotional about this, but this man picked me up every day.
Wow.
drove me to Chicago to school, and he brought me home every day.
Every day.
And every day. And a lot of my friends say, man, it changed your life, but I know in the neighborhood that I came from, it probably saved my life as well. And
Absolutely.
I'm forever indebted to him. He passed away about 4 years ago.
Oh, my condolences.
Yeah, we had a great relationship. You know, I lost touch with him for a while, and I remember going out to Chicago Heights for a reunion, and I ran into his son, and I'm like, man, where's your dad? Is he still living? He said, sure, he's living. I said, please give me his number. He gave me his number. 2 days later, I go out and see him. We chop it up, man, for like 4 hours. He was so happy. He had just turned 90 and went and got his license renewed.
Oh, wow.
And this is the real important part I got out of all of it, though, was that when I'm leaving, I'm in my car sitting in his driveway, and I say to him, his name was Mr. Barber. I said, Mr. Barber, I don't know if I adequately thanked you for all that you did for me. And I just want to tell you, how much I appreciate it. He said, what are you talking about? I said, I just want to, I don't believe I really, really thanked you. He said, just wait right here. So he goes in his house and he comes out with a letter that I wrote him my first year in college, thanking him, man.
Wow.
I was proud, but I know my family could not been more proud to know that they put the right kind of values in me, right?
Yep.
To thank people, right? And the crazy part about it is that I wanted to, my mom always asked about him. I wanted to go out to dinner with him. And I said, man, my mother really would like to see you. That time I was married, right? So I said, my wife didn't know him. So we planned to go to dinner. And as I often say to my players, everybody thinks they got more time, and we don't. We have the time we have now. And he passed away before we could get to dinner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but he helped change my life. Forever indebted to him. It's a real point in my life that changed everything. And without him, it wouldn't have changed, I don't think.
Absolutely.
So I went to Mount Carmel, man, a football school, supposedly.
I'm about to say, football school especially, I mean, you guys have had quite a few stars, if you will, yourself. You had, even after you've had guys like Donovan McNabb, him coming through there. You had even Antoine Walker even coming through there. So you've had a nice collective of athletes, and not just athletes, like elite athletes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did. I think that I'm most proud of, not most proud of, but it was special to become an All-American at Mount Carmel. And at that time, I didn't know what it was, honestly. My coach came to my classroom one day and said, look at this magazine. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, what am I looking at? And he points to it and says, that's you. I'm like, All-American, how do they know, right? But I was named All-American. That was special. But it didn't really hit me. It hit me later on, that I'm one of the best players in the country. The first player from Mount Carmel to go to the NBA. The first All-American they had in basketball. So I began to understand and have a vision for what I wanted for myself. But going into the situation, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going to be available to me, the resources that were going to be available, the opportunities that were going to be available. But they did, and it's been unbelievable since then, right? So I go to Mount Carmel, but let me tell you something. One day I'm going to invite you to the showing of my documentary. My mom talks about, I was not a good student. I didn't even like school. Jabari, I'm an All-American, and in the first semester of my senior year, I got 5 Fs.
Oh, wow.
5 Fs.
That's a big deal right there. All-American, you going through the magazine. It's funny, I was just having this conversation yesterday, had AJ Guyton on the podcast, and we were talking about, it's like, man, remember you had to go through the magazines, and you see your list of your names, and you see yourself ranked. Like, it was a big deal. Now, that experience is no more. Like, you can go right to your phone, to your computer. Here's the top 25, but Parade All-American, I mean, that's huge. And then, like you said, now you're hitting this level of elite on the court, but like you said, you got in the classroom and...
Hey, man, I told you about Mr. Barber driving me in and driving me back, right? So they would always ask. He would even ask, did you do your homework? And I would always lie. I would say, yeah, I did it. But when I got in the house, I'd tell my aunt and uncle, who would ask me, oh, I did it in the car, right? I wasn't a dumb kid, anything like that, man. I just hated school. I mean, I just liked school with a passion. And so because of that, with these 75 to 80 scholarship interests and offers, I couldn't take advantage of any of them.
Yeah.
You
Who
know,
were some of your top schools that were coming after you?
man, you name it.
Everybody.
Everybody. I mean, once you become an All-American, even back then all the schools that are bad, particularly basketball schools, they're going to at least have some interest in you. They're going to come out and see you, but not like today. But they were going to come out and see you, do evaluation and things of that nature. I will tell you, every school in the Midwest, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, you name it, man. In fact, Florida was a big school, talking me into coming down there because it was going to be so warm and so nice. So all the big name schools, man, I had over 75 to 80 schools after me, but I couldn't qualify. And so I went to the junior college, Mobley, Missouri.
Okay.
Here's another school situation that I hated. We were in the country.
You're in the country at Mobley.
In the country, man. Okay. Had a pretty good junior college team. Had some good guys on it, but I didn't want to be there. I always felt like this is not me. I should be at a major school, right? Well, if you take care of your grades, you would be, right?
Will be,
so, right. So I had to knuckle down and do it. And after my freshman year, I called my coach and said, hey, I don't want to be here. Because back then you spent 2 years at junior college. And I was like, man, I don't want to be here. I just don't want to be here. So he was like, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to leave. He said, where do you want to go? I said, well, I don't know. Is Marquette still interested? He said, yeah, there's other schools interested. Missouri right here is interested in you. You could go there probably. I was like, no, I'm tired of being in the country places that I don't know. And long story short, Marquette reached out that summer. Marquette reached out that summer, and they had to go through a whole lot to get me in school because remember, I didn't qualify, right?
Right.
And I didn't actually find out till years later that they had this program called Equal Opportunity for Minorities, and that's what they had to do to get me into Marquette.
Gotcha.
And, I sat out that first year, but the first year sitting out was better than the years I spent at Mobley, okay? Because I was an hour and a half from home. I could come back home and what have you. I went to practice every day. And Coach McGuire, he just, he was a fascinating coach, man. He loved his players, but he taught you about life more than basketball, okay? He taught you about how you do things together and how everybody will benefit. And what I mean by that, Jabari, is that we played a very slow down game, okay? But the point of it was that he always believed that his seniors should get the most shots, period, okay? This is senior because we got to make sure they get to the next level, okay? And that's kind of how he coached. I'll tell you, most of the time we didn't even start practicing before we had a long talk about just about life. Where you going? How you going to get there? What about your family?
So he would slow everything down and say, oh, listen, basketball is secondary, but, like, we need to talk about life and make sure you are – what were some of those kind of characteristics that he and coach, the legendary coach, ended up instilling in you?
Well, I think one is that, and I hear so many people say it now, and I know they don't even know where it comes from. Basketball is what you do, it's not who you are. And that still applies to me today, and that's why I've had some different kind of things happen to be recognized, but I didn't want to be recognized just as a basketball player. Yeah. And this goes back, and I'll try to conflate the two. I remember being a basketball player for Mount Carmel my second year, and this guy, we go to a party with all the girls and what have you, and one of my teammates introduces me, but he introduces me as, he's on the team. And that just didn't sit right with me, man. I'm like, so this person's going to like me because I play ball, not because of who I am? And when I got to him, he talked about those kind of things he talked about it like, you are a real person, right? You're no different. You just play basketball, okay? Yep. And then he talked about, your family that makes sacrifices for you to have the kind of opportunities. You could never forget that. And it wasn't just talking about your family. He talked about your community. You're going to be different if you get a chance to go to pros. You got to understand that the other people don't get these kind of opportunities. What are you going to do to pay it back, okay, to those people who couldn't go? So a lot of those kind of things, man. And he kept it real with you, man. Ain't no question about it. He kept it real with you. A lot of lessons learned about your relationship with young ladies, how to be treated, how not to be treated, right? But your teammates and your families were one and the same, okay? You grow together, you win together, you lose together, right? And you never turn your back on the people that you love and care about you. So real. I learned a great deal from that, man.
So in those 4 years, he taught you quite a bit, again, about life. When was it for you that you knew, like, hey, Parade All-American. I got real game and I can actually make it to this next level. When did it really click for you of like I can put my name in the draft and go excel in that space?
Well, let me say this, man. It was once I got to Marquette, because we're in Milwaukee, the Bucks are there. The Buck players would come to Marquette in the summer and play with us so they could get in shape for training camp.
Yep.
Okay. So once I got a chance to play with them and against them in the pickups, I was like, I can do this. I can do this. But back then, I'll say this, man. There weren't a whole lot of jobs. Okay. You said I was in the third round. I was the 40th pick in the draft.
Yep.
Okay. But still in all, there were only 285 jobs in comparison today where there's 450, right?
Yep.
So I heard the noise. He's too short. He's not good offensively, can't shoot. And the only reason by that, and you were a ball player, is that if you're only getting 6 or 7 shots, as opposed to getting 15 to 20 shots, you know what I'm saying? You got to get a rhythm and what have you. But the most important thing for me going to Marquette was that they were about winning. And Al convinced us that if we win, everybody's going to get a shot. So I wasn't concerned about my shots. I was the leader, period. I was the coach on the floor. And it wasn't like I couldn't score. Hell, I left junior college averaging 24. I averaged 24 in high school. I'm an All-American. But that didn't bother me, right? Yeah. But the way people looked at the game, still in all, you need to be able to put the ball in the hoop. So I had some doubts whether I was going to make it or not. And I'll tell you this. I got to tell you this story, man, that people are surprised when they hear it. So my senior year, we're number 2 in the country. Indiana's number 1. Okay, they did some crazy stuff and made us play in the same region, right? In the regional championship. That was ridiculous. That's just part of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Indiana beat us. And so instead of them making us number 1 seed in different regions and playing for the championship, they put us in the same region. They changed it the year after that. But anyway, so my senior year, I'm getting a call. I won't tell you who the guy is until afterwards. I'm getting a call from this gopher, all right? So the agents have gophers to go out there and find the players, make relationships, right? So this gopher is calling me like every week, Jabari, every week, telling me how good I am, where I might get drafted, are you doing this, are you doing that? And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing all that. So, so now summertime comes, and they didn't have these things where you go work out for the teams back then. They weren't doing that. So draft day comes, right? And I'm nervous. I'm filled with anxiety, of course, But let me go back. 2 weeks before the draft, the guy who's been hounding me to go to his agent, his boss, is now named the general manager of the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, wow.
You still don't know who it is. So I'll tell you in a second. If you don't know, you know who it is?
Not yet, but I think I'm getting close to it.
Okay. So I'm feeling like he's the general manager. I know I'm going late first, early second round. Ain't no doubt in my mind, right? So I go out and play some tennis that day with a friend of mine. I'm on my way home. Now, mindful, it wasn't this big extravaganza that it is. I'm talking about the draft, right? It wasn't none of that. Okay, so anyway, on my way home, I'm hearing the draft, and I hear the Chicago Bulls pick the first pick was Scott May, who was with Indiana. He had won a championship. He had been on the Olympic team. They pick him number 1. Perfect pick, okay? No qualms about that. Yep. The second pick is a player named Willie Smith out of Missouri. I'm like, this dude been calling me. He didn't pick me. That guy's name is Jerry Krause.
Jerry gave you an earful, saw you in Chicago, and decided, said, you know what? I'm still not coming your way to come get you.
He decided to ghost me after all those calls. And so I walk in the house. My mom was like, hey, Wayne Emery called you. I knew Wayne because I was at Marquette. He's the general manager of the Bucks. And but I was confused, and I was really angry and disappointed that somebody could mislead me like that. Because he didn't have to do that, But anyway, I called Wayne. He was like, welcome to the Milwaukee Bucks. And I was a bit devastated, though, really. I'll be honest with you.
I bet.
But I went to the summer camp, and I killed him in the summer camp. I killed him in the summer league. Yep. But they drafted Quinn Buckner, my childhood rival, number 1.
Yep.
Okay, he's in Robbins, Illinois. I'm in Chicago Heights. We battled all the time. We were both All-Americans in high school. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we always had this battle. And so they drafted him number 1. The Bucks already had 4 guards on their team, so I'm looking at this situation like,
It don't
I ain't
make
got a
sense.
shot. Right, I ain't even
Yep.
got a shot, man.
Yep.
But I didn't understand the teams rebuild all the time. And they in the summer they started trading some of those guys away and what have you, and some of them were free agents. They weren't re-signed, and so I wound up making the team.
Yeah.
And that was obviously, a dream come true. A lot of people have dreams, but they don't necessarily get a chance to live out their dream.
Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
this particular dream allowed me also to make some money. Okay, so it was a good time,
And you don't
man.
have to go to school.
Right, right.
Hey, all you had to do was show up and play. But
That's it, man.
I mean, that class, you guys had, like you said, Quinn Buckner. I mean, John Lucas, I think, was the #1 overall pick. You had Mitch Kupchak, with the late, you had so many. Sonny Parker was with you, and he right
Johnny
there in
P. That's right.
Chicago
That's right.
had talent that was rooted right here. Always had that. Like, tell me what that kind of environment was, even playing in the summertime and all of those things with those guys.
Man, let me tell you something. I just left a barber, man, and he's a Chicago guy. We were talking about how guys would come from everywhere to play summer league basketball here in Chicago. We started out in the boys club on the west side,
On the West Side,
small
yep.
gym. Everybody
Kane
came. And the
Club.
Yeah, but the pros played with the college guys, and you just had a few guys, very few guys who could actually be street ballers and play with us. Okay, very few. But we had, man, it was so competitive back then, man. And the gym, let me tell you, it was so packed. You couldn't even see the out of bound lines. It would be so packed. They had to bring fans in because it wasn't air conditioned in the summer.
Of course.
And guys would come from everywhere, from different cities and play in the summer league, man. I knew all my guys, even if we were on different teams, from Sonny to Andre Wakefield, you name it, man. It was a different kind of era because we wanted to be good and we wanted to compete. They don't really have a real pro summer league anymore. I know Sonny puts on one, but it's not
Yeah.
like where you get all the pros to come and play, right?
Yeah.
And not only did it do the pros that were playing good, but it also did the community good. For them
Yep.
to come out and be able to see you play, right, and didn't cost you anything. Those were special kind of times, man. But we left the King Boys Club, and then we went to where did we go next? I think it was Malcolm X, and then
Okay.
Chicago State, and then
Yep.
UIC. Yeah.
Of
So,
course.
but the relationships and the camaraderie, you always enjoyed playing in the NBA, but also more enjoyed a player who was from Chicago that you would play against or that you would
Yep.
see. We
Yep.
go to Golden State. Sonny Parker would pick me up and we go hang out. He'd
Yep.
take me to his house, right? And
His family at that time.
yeah, man. It was a different kind of thing now. And I know guys now don't even want to work out with each other, and they have all these different, I don't know, these different things going that they don't want to compete with each other until it's a game and all. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, it is
Yeah.
what it is. Some very, very memorable, good times that I spent in Chicago on the playground and in the gyms.
Yeah. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Chicago State. I heard there used to be some memorable runs in the pro-am that took place down there. What was probably your most memorable time playing in the summer league?
Okay, I'll give you one that I actually was playing in. Okay, we're at the King Boys and Girls Club, and
Yep.
I know you know the name Billy Harris. Okay,
Yep.
you might have heard the name of this brother named Bill Robenzine. He played at DePaul. Very
Yep.
good player. Played in the league. Played for the Kings. But anyway, we're going back and forth. Bill Robenzine, Bo Ellis, myself, Louis Gray, a few others on the same team. We're going against Billy and his guys, and Billy comes down on a fast break, full speed. Robenzine is trying to back up. Billy stops on the dime, put the ball around his back. That's honest God truth. Robenzine stops and couldn't stop and tears his sneaker right in half, right? They had to stop the game. That probably was the most memorable time. Other, and the other thing was I wasn't even playing and I was coaching then, is to see Isaiah and Mark walk into the gym at Chicago State. And how the people just lost their damn mind. And the crazy thing about it, they didn't walk in and go to the bench. They went straight to the scores table.
They go right to go check in.
I'm going in the game. I didn't come in to sit
Yeah.
on the bench, right?
Yeah.
And then the other one was when Mike came out and played. Again, the people lost their damn mind.
I
And
bet.
the thing about those two situations, they didn't disappoint. They put on shows, man. I mean, real shows that would have been worth paying to see. Your hometown guys, except Mike, putting on a show, man, that you do in the pros, and probably more so
Yeah.
in the summer league than you
In
do
the
in the
summer league.
pros, right? Because you don't have all those restrictions and structure. So
Hmm.
those were the good times, man. Those were the real
Man.
good times.
I love hearing it. I just had Quentin Richardson on here. We talked
Q.
Bob. We talked with Sean Marion as well, and we kind of had that kind of reference of back with them playing in their era, playing at hoops to gym and the pro-ams and all those different things. And I know that there was an era that preceded them. You know what I mean? And us and all those different things. So it's always good to just kind of hear the legacy of summer league basketball in Chicago. I tell them all the time, like, I promise you I'm going to do a documentary. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to find some footage. I'm going to make it happen. I don't care if I got to scribble it on a napkin, and that's going to be it, because I think it's something so passionate about just playing in the summertime in Chicago for sure.
It really was. It really was, man. I think about no. Go ahead, because I don't want. I can go
Yeah, no, all
whatever.
good. No, so you find yourself, you're drafted, you get in the league. Tell me what that experience is like. Now you're at the pro level, you're in there playing with some of the best in the world. You made that 1%. Like you said, there was only 200 and some 250 players in the
285
league
players
at
in the
that
league.
time. So what was that experience for you to start your pathway and journey in the NBA?
One, I was a little reluctant, a lot of apprehension, a lot of doubt initially.
Yeah.
But every step I took from summer league to training camp, I became more confident in my ability. Right. But obviously, the goal is to put on that jersey when the games count. Right.
Yep.
And in training camp, Junior Bridgman and I run into each other. So now I got to go on the injured reserve list, right? And I'm staying at the hotel. I don't come to practice, whatever. I don't even know what the rules are. Nobody tells me. And I get a call from our coach after the third day. He said, "Where are you?" I said, "Well, you come. I'm at the hotel, coach." He said, "Why are you not at practice?" I said, "I didn't know I had to come to practice." He said, "Well, if you want to be on this team, you better get to practice." So, and he was an old school coach, man. God rest his
Yeah.
soul. He was an old school coach, man. I swear to you, he had a playbook, Jabari, as thick as this book. Okay, a
I bet.
playbook,
I
basketball.
bet.
And so, and he was the kind of guy, he would call you out in the middle of practice. What do you do if you're on the left side? We call 44 up and down. And you got to know your stuff,
No,
man.
and you the point guard too, so you.
But we had a lot of guys who like to have fun. The veterans would always put you in the hole, throw the ball at you and look the wrong way, and the coach think it's you. So I remember he called the play out and said, "What is that, Walton? What do you do?" Brain lock. Brain lock. I'm like, damn, where the I couldn't remember, but I know these plays, right?
Yeah.
After practice, because we all stand at the hotel, I went to his room. Knock on his door. He opened his, "What do you want?" I said, "Coach, I know these plays. I know all of them. You could ask me anything right now." It just caught me off guard. He said, "I watched you play for 4 years. I mean, 3 years at Marquette. I know you know them, but you got to know them when the lights are on.
Yeah.
Don't ever let me ask you something that you don't know." And I said, "I promise you it won't happen." 2 weeks later, I'm back healthy, so I start playing, and it's preseason, right? So we're trying to work
Yeah.
our way in. I'm getting minutes here and there. The guys are getting cut. I'm like, damn, man, he could ball. They let him go. Then I see the business side one day. We're in practice, and Bobby Dandridge. I don't know if you know the name Bobby Dandridge. He won
No.
a championship. He's in the Hall of Fame. Won a championship with Kareem and Oscar. He walks
Okay.
off the floor in the middle of practice, and I'm like, "Where's he going?" And the coach says, "Hey, Bobby, where you going?" He said, "I'm hurt." He said, "Hurt? I didn't see you get hurt. Where'd you get hurt at?" He said, "When I walked across that line." Mind you, I just said he had won a championship already. He was the
Yep.
veteran on the team. He wanted out. He wanted to go somewhere where he could compete for a championship.
Mm.
And 2 weeks later, they traded him to the Wizards at that time, and he won a championship with the Wizards.
With the
Okay,
Wizards.
but the business side, right? I didn't, man. I'm like, I ain't never seen no player go against a coach, and it's like, I'm not going back out there. I'm hurt. I know he didn't get hurt. Everybody knew he didn't get hurt.
Nobody. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was tough because we were not a good team. We were rebuilding,
Okay.
And after 18 games, they fired the coach and made the assistant coach the head coach, which was Don Nelson. Okay.
Mm.
And I remember like it was yesterday when he walked into the gym that morning. He said, "All right, fellas, the shit has hit the fan." And he told us exactly what he wanted and what we did. First of all, he said we're going to be in the best shape in the league for the
Mm.
rest of the year. There are going to be teams coming here that are really, really good, who are better than us. They're going to take us for granted. We're going to run their ass out the gym.
There you go.
Because we're going to make a statement. There's no more coming here and going to get no easy wins, okay? That ain't going to happen no more. And we went on a little bit of a tear in the Eastern Conference for the last, at least for my years, my 4 years there, we went on a tear. We were always competing for the championship. At that time, we were in the West even.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was a good time. I kind of lost myself. Honestly, I got so depressed.
Did you?
I got depressed between my third and fourth year, man. Jabari, I was a star in high school. I was a star in college. I was All American in college.
Yep.
And then I get to the pros, and I see guys today sitting on the bench. Can you play or can you not play? We don't know. I knew I could play, but Quinn was that man. And
Yeah.
they had all these guards. So I started getting depressed, man. And then the nightlife got me. I got
Did it?
caught. Yeah, I got caught up in the nightlife, man. I was loving it, but I got caught up in it. Okay,
Mm.
and so my focus, my discipline, my accountability to the game, it just diminished over years, little by little by little by little by
Okay.
little, and then I get moved to the Kings from
Yep.
the Bucks, and it continued. So and it continued. Let me share what happened to me. I don't know about other people's stories other than John. Him and John Lucas and I were good
Yep.
friends and talked through this, but. When we would win and I would get minutes, I would be so excited and happy because I knew I could do it. But then I would go off and use some drugs because I'm celebrating. Then when I didn't play, guess what? Now I'm depressed. I got to use some drugs to make myself feel better. And
Yep.
that's what, because of the depression, because I'm not saying I wouldn't have tried it. It was that kind of era. But to get
Yeah.
caught up in it, I don't think I would have, but I did. But for an 8 year period, man, I was lost like you wouldn't believe, right? And so I was out of the league now,
Right.
half that time, and I had to figure things out. I had a great family. Obviously, I had to get some treatment. I had to get some therapy, to get my life back together, get back on track. And I don't want to tell you too much because, and only because the documentary is coming
The
out.
documentary is there. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
definitely gonna tap into that. Well, let me ask you this, and hopefully you aren't telling too much, but you know, you solely didn't do that on your own, right? You hit a wall. You were depressed. You were going through therapy, but you solely didn't do it on your own. Like you said, you had John Lucas who kind of also knew a little bit about that. Who was it that kind of ultimately really helped you overcome that obstacle that was there that positioned you where you were at that time?
Well, let me just say this: John's situation was after mine. Okay,
Okay.
and I remember helping him, reaching out to him, and us having this conversation. But who really helped me was my family. I had a
Mm.
great family. Okay, and my family never turned their back on me. They just continued to help me. And I will tell you this one little story that's so critical and so important about family. So I go to get treatment one time after maybe a 2 or 3 day binge, and I go to the hospital and I tell the lady what's happening. I got this substance abuse problem. I come to get some help. She said, "Sure." She said, "Sit down," and she does the intake form and all that kind of stuff. She said, "You got any insurance?" I said, "Yeah." At that time, I was married to a flight attendant. I said, "Yeah, I got insurance." So give me your name and all that stuff. So she leaves. She comes back in about 10 or 15 minutes. She said, "I can't find your insurance." I said, "Well, yeah, I got it." I said, "Can I use your phone?" So I used the phone. I called my wife at that time and said, "Hey, I'm at the hospital trying to get some help, and they can't find the insurance." And she says, "Oh, yeah, you don't have no insurance. I took you off my insurance 6 months ago."
Oh wow.
Jabari, I've never been so scared in my life to have to go back out in the streets because I don't, what am I going to do?
Yep.
So a friend of mine picked me up and took me home to their house. And I called my mom. I was like, "Mom, I was at the hospital. I was trying to get admitted so I can deal with this substance abuse problem." And it was silent. It seemed like it was hours. But it was like 2 or 3 seconds. And my mom said, "Son, I knew this day was going to come. I put you on my insurance a year ago." And the next day I went to treatment and I haven't looked back again. That was 38 years ago.
Mm.
That's when I talk about family and people
Blessing.
who love you and care about you, right?
Be right there with you.
They'll never abandon you, no matter
There
what.
you go.
So like I said, it's been 38 years since then.
38 years. So going back a little bit, you took the shoes off for the last time. Your career, you had a solid career, but as you said, the nightlife got you. The ways of the NBA in the '70s, you said it just got. It was powerful. At least the outside looking, it looked like it was a powerful time. It was one of those where it's going to come and grab and jump on your back at some point any given day. The 70s were just that, especially in Chicago, New York, LA, any of the main cities.
That's right. That's right.
So with that, you taking your shoes off and obviously you put yourself into, tell me what that transition, as you started to better yourself, what was that kind of experience and that journey like for you?
Well, first of all, once once I got clean, I was able to think clearly, right? And thinking clearly for me was like, okay, well, what's next in your life? Okay, you're out of the league, right? That was a good career. A 5 year, 6 year career, that was cool. That's done. But what are you going to do now? And so I was 5 hours short of my degree. And just so happened, the assistant coach Hank Raymond's called and said, get your butt up here and get these 5 credit hours.
Credits, yep.
I go do that. I come back. My mom who had worked for the city for 40 years. I got a job, just an entry-level job. And I always believed after that job or doing that job that I wanted to be in position to help other people, right? And so those jobs from the city of Chicago, I did a little work. And then I got a real, I guess, a job that allowed me to really help people. It was a job for a substance abuse, prevention of substance abuse company for the state of Illinois. And they made me the lead person. And so I learned so much from so many damn people doing it that led me to want to go back to school, get my master's degree. I got a chance, I met my mentor during this period of time, Dr. Carol Adams, who hired me to put this program together. They got some money for the Chicago Housing Authority. She said, hey, they tell me you the man. Come put it together. I put it together, right?
I bet you did.
I put it together, man. And let me say this, though. I don't want to ever think that I hear people use this phrase, self-made man. There's no such thing as a self-made man, okay? I put the program together as the lead person, but I didn't make it successful by myself. There were so many other people, right, that I hired that were part of it that made it successful for the residents of the Chicago Housing Authority. And I did that for, I think, 3.5 years. I took a $400,000 budget to $4 million in 4 years, and you don't get that kind of increase unless you dot them I's and crossing them T's with the federal government.
Absolutely.
And then I said it's time for me to, go up the next level, right? And so then I was hired by the YMCA of Chicago as an executive director.
Okay.
And I was like, man, I'm gonna make this a landmark. It was the first full-size YMCA for African Americans in Chicago, right?
Wow.
So when people came from the South or came from the Army or the services, they would come here to find out, where do you get your haircut? Where do you get a car? Where do you do this? Where do you do that, right? But it hadn't been serviced right in years. And so I wanted to make it a landmark place. And I was there only 6 months. And the only reason why I was only there for 6 months, my mom stopped by my office one day and she said, I managed so-and-so, and they told me they wish they knew who you were, because the Chicago Bulls and the Jordan family were looking for an executive director for their new place. I was like, what? She said, oh, but that job is gone now. I said, okay. She left. I wrote a cover letter, and I sent my resume to the Boys and Girls Club, and they called me back the next day and asked me to come in and be interviewed. And I was interviewed, and they chose me out of 245 people to be the executive director.
Wow.
And the building wasn't even finished.
Wasn't even finished, man.
My
goodness.
So I took what I learned and did the same thing that I was doing at the Y and at the Chicago Housing Authority. I hired my staff. I put in all the SOPs, the standard operating procedures. I made the community realize that this place was for them, because there's always rumors and stuff circulating about stuff like that when it's new in a community like the West Side, near West Side.
West Side of Chicago, yep.
Yeah, and it was 2 blocks from the United Center.
United Center,
Yeah, go out and speak to everybody. Let them know this is your place. We had a full size gym. We had a daycare. We had a work ready program.
Hmm.
I had a full what do they call it? A chemical. Not a chemical, but a science lab. Okay,
Science
a
lab, yeah.
science lab because we had a grammar school right across the street, and Russ Presbyterian Hospital built that in for them because they didn't have one. So I had everything
Hmm.
that you could imagine, man. And the Bulls and Michael did everything possible that you could imagine, man. We had a board of who's who in Chicago. I mean, all the CEOs.
I
So that,
remember.
man. So and I guess I was able to do something else. I was able to hire Sonny. He was my athletic
Nice.
director, right?
Oh,
So
nice.
I was
Yep.
thinking about that last night. I did something on the radio with my friend Clyde, and that was when Jabari was this tall, man, running up and down the gym, learning how to hoop.
Learning how to
Another
play. Yep.
another former player, Kevin Porter, who played with the Washington Wizards, and I've known him
Yep.
for years. I was able to hire him as well.
And his son
So
is out there playing.
yeah, so I'm in a position, man, to not just better my life, but to better the life of other people as well.
Yep.
And I did the craziest thing, the stupidest thing. I decided to run for office after 3 years, and that was a disaster. Okay, 'cause I was
What
too
what
honest
what you run for?
for alderman.
Okay, you ran for Alderman.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, I was in the 21st ward, and that was kind of crazy. And I'll just say this because I was the kind of person who would go out and meet people. And I remember I was in this neighborhood, and brothers was out hanging out.
Yep.
One of the brothers said, "Man, all this glass and stuff out here, man. What you gonna do about that?" I said, "Man, I ain't gonna do nothing about that. This is my address. I clean mine up every day. This is yours. You need to clean it up." And people said I was too honest. You can't be honest like that as a politician. You got to be able to learn how to work around that. But that just wasn't me. I wasn't going to
Yeah.
BS you and tell you some stuff that I wasn't going to do and stuff like that. But nevertheless, that led me to to being called to be a coach at the pre-draft. And so I coached at the
It took place
pre-draft.
all the time here in Chicago.
Yep,
Right
right
over there,
here.
hoops to gym, and yep.
It was at Moody Bible before
Moody
that.
Bible. Yep. Over
Yep.
at Moody Bible. Yep.
Yeah. So
Sure
I did that
was.
for 4 years, and that got me back into the mix of seeing the guys, seeing the coaches, the general managers, and all that kind of stuff. That was a really important period. And I got another call after the 4th year saying, "Hey, we got this job as a counselor, as counselors we need, and could you come in and interview for it?" I got it. They hired me on the spot, and that led to 25 years being passionate about helping players go from where they are to where they want to be off the court.
I mean, that's an incredible story. Like knowing where you came from, the highs, the lows, the journey, and I'm sure a lot of this is in the documentary, but to see where you traveled to and through. Let me ask you, do you even plan, like take a second to plan or map out or set any goals during that time at all? Or were these just moments that just popped up for you?
Not necessarily plan goals, right? Because I didn't even think about getting back into the NBA. I did miss something out because I did get a call to be a coach. Back then it was the CBA, not the G League, right? Continental
Yeah.
Basketball League. Isaiah owned it. So I got
Yep.
a call, and I was a coach in the CBA for a year. Okay, at that period, I really wanted to get back into the league, but the league folded, and so I was taking a job, and so I was just like, okay, I just want to get back to school, that master's degree, work with that, and work in the community-based organizations wherever that is. There was no real identified plan at that point. The identifiable plans have been since then. When I came to the NBA, I was the only former player within our group that had a master's degree. And so then I kept saying to myself, man, I should be the executive director of this. I could do this. And I got a couple of friends that kept saying, well, what you going to do? I said, well, I'm
Yep.
going to go back to school and get my doctorate. They're like, you don't need the doctorate. I felt like I needed a doctorate. And
Yeah.
here's the reason why. I needed a doctorate because I wanted to tell my kids and my grandkids that I not only played at the highest level, but I was educated at the highest level. That was the main reason. But the second reason was that I wanted people who made decisions about who would be an executive director to know that I was more than capable of just being someone who worked it every day, but could lead it and have a vision for it. And so I got that doctorate, and nothing has unveiled itself in terms of being executive director with the NBA or the Players Association. but I don't regret one moment of it, man. I did what I needed to do. My family is proud of me. I'm proud that I was able to do it. And I'll just say this: when I walked across that stage to get that doctorate, my mother said to me, "And you hated school." I said, "No, Mama, I didn't hate school. I hate it now."
That's what in my mind, I'm thinking. I said this full circle moment from the time where you would not do your homework on the rides back home to and from Chicago Heights to school, to failing every class, five
Yep.
F's on the report, and you get all the way through and you say, all right, after my career, I'm going to go back to school, not only for a master's, but you also went for a doctorate, which is incredibly special, a
That's a
feat to
very
do.
esoteric group, man. I thank you because there's only been three. There's been
Yep.
4,788 players in the NBA over a 77-year history. I'm the third player to earn a doctorate degree. Okay, so that's really special. Being
Absolutely.
part of the 4,877, that's special, you know. So I've been very, very fortunate, man. I don't take it for granted, man. God's been good to me, and I'm not a religious person, but I'm a spiritual person, man. I'm
Yeah.
real spiritual. I believe in things that are supposed to happen are going to happen, but you got
Yep.
to do your part, right?
Yep.
And so I intend to continue to do my part in helping those who are less fortunate than me until the day I die. That's just how it is, man.
Yeah.
And having this documentary wasn't my idea. I didn't think of my life like that. But I had a childhood friend who came to me, and he came to me because at the time he was somewhere. We were together, and he talked to my wife. My wife was telling me that we were at the NBA luncheon, and they said, "Well, all the former players stand up," and I wouldn't stand up. And she kept like, "You got to stand up." I was like, "I don't want to stand up." And so, I'm telling her, like people just look at you as a ball player. I'm far
Mm.
more than that. The same thing I told you earlier
Same
on,
question. Yep.
right?
Exactly.
And so him and her talked about that, and he said, "Man, I want to tell you a story." And the first time I balked about it, man, honestly, Jabari, I was like, "I don't want to go through that, man." And I thought about it. Jabari, when we leave this earth, man, there are people going to tell a story about us, okay? And some stories that are going to be told and purpose don't even know us, but they're going to tell the story anyway. And so I felt like this was an opportunity for me to tell the story from me. I don't care what anybody else said. There will be a story available that came from Lloyd. And so my family's involved, my kids. The only unfortunate thing about it, all of my coaches are deceased. Al McGuire, all the assistants that were there that recruited me, my junior college coach is deceased. So that's the only difficult part of it. But it's very transparent. I talk about
Yep.
everything I went through with the substance abuse. I talked about the exciting parts of making it to the NBA, getting drafted, getting my doctorate. So I tell a story that I think can help a lot of different people. It's a story of resilience, determination, being accountable,
Yeah.
having goals, having dreams, and love and family. So we plan to show it maybe sometime in early April.
Okay.
But
Okay.
you'll definitely be on the list, man. I'd love to have you
I
out and come and see it.
I will definitely be in attendance. I think it's going to be an amazing experience to just kind of hear that story right from your mouth and just kind of visualize it as well in that documentary. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And I'll make sure that we put it out for people to tune into it as well. So we'll definitely do that. Let me ask you this: 25 years working with the NBA. What was that experience like, knowing that you're helping them achieve goals when they've already achieved the 1%?
Well, I realized that the ball always stops bouncing at
Sure
some point
does.
for everybody, right? I don't care
Sure
who you are.
does.
Okay, I don't how many All Star games you make, how many points you score, right?
Kobe had to deal with it. That Achilles came and got him. Hey, he had to sit down. LeBron's about to deal with it in a few years. We don't know when, but it's on the way because Father Time ain't waiting for nobody.
Father Time is undefeated, right?
Undefeated.
So you leave the league by choice or by force, okay?
Yep.
And most players want to leave by choice, but the majority of us leave by force, okay? Diminishing skills, right? Price salary too high, you're just not
Mm.
good enough anymore.
Hmm.
And so I knew that going into this job once I found out. So initially, as I shared with you, that the thing was about being educated, because the education certainly could help you prepare for that transition to the next thing that you wanted to do. Fortunately for the sport and for life in general, things have evolved so much that you don't necessarily have to have a formal education. So not only could I promote having one though, but I also could promote about being the best person you could be and exploring other things in the world that you have a passion for.
Yep.
Whatever that is, right? Guys want to become entrepreneurs, and guys want to go into real estate. I led the real estate program for 15 years for guys. And it's so crazy because, players don't necessarily know, they just have an idea. So brothers will say to me, man, I said, what you want to do after we get done with this? And we can start now. Well, I want real estate. So my question is always, okay, what do you want to do in real estate? Flip houses. I said, man, anybody can flip a house. You don't need that ain't no big thing, flipping a house, man.
Exactly.
How about developing? How about doing commercial? You know what I'm saying? Things like that. We got to open you up. So we brought in a real estate program with great experts across the country, man, to come in and talk to players about how to do it. And the beauty of that, Jabari, was in 4 or 5 years, we had players who sat in the rooms when we first started, coming back who were already involved in real estate and doing a great job. I tell you, Josh Childress, you might have heard of him, I'm not sure.
Yep. Played at Stanford. Very familiar with him.
His portfolio is damn near $1 billion now, and he was one of the first guys. Yeah, and I remember when
I'm
he
gonna have
came
to get him on the podcast for sure.
Oh man, he gonna blow your mind, man. But he's great at it. But I remember he came and he said to us, man, before he left the third day, he said, man, I want to come back and I want to be a presenter. And 4 years later, he came back and he led this stuff for the last 2 years for us.
Wow.
So there were guys who we had a broadcasting program. Guys would that was the fun part, because players would come, and if it's just you and I sitting around talking basketball, we don't have to measure our words and how we say it. We just talking ball, right?
We just talk, yeah.
Yeah, but guys would come to the broadcasting program and they start talking like that. It was like, you can't speak like that, man. Okay? And there's certain jargon that we use, right, that only ball players know, right?
You only know, exactly.
But you're talking to the public. They don't know these words and the stuff like that. And then we always had blooper reels where guys would be saying stuff and then go off on tangents. So, but that was good too, because the majority of guys, with the exception of Kenny and Shaq, have gone through our broadcasting program. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, Shaq, at that time, the players would have to put money up, okay? Because some players would say they were coming, then they wouldn't come, we'd have all the staff. So Shaq said, I want to do the broadcasting program. And so at that time, I think it was 3,000. And he said, well, I'm putting up 6,000. Well, why? He said, because I'm coming, I'll bring some people with me. We said, but they can't go through the program. But anyway, he said, I'm putting up 6 and I don't want nobody there but me. He said, we're going to hire all these people just for you? He said, yeah, I don't want nobody there but me. He paid his money and came through and went through the program. Vince Carter went through the program. I could name so many guys who've gone. Richard Jefferson, Andre Iguodala.
And you're seeing the benefits of every last one of them, because you're seeing them, Richard Jefferson on ESPN. You're seeing Andre Iguodala, him the executive director of the PA, all of those great things. So, I mean, clearly it was an important stop within your journey as you started to step away from the game.
Absolutely. And one of the things about the programs that we had was that we didn't just come up with them. We went to the players and said, what are you guys interested in? That's when the guys said, we're interested in real estate. Well, we got to develop a real estate program. Absolutely. Guys would say, I want to do broadcasting, man. I want to be a sports. We had to develop. We did it at Syracuse for about 4 or 5 years. And now the last 6 years we were at USC doing it. So, it's about meeting players where they're at. They got so much on their plate. But obviously we know that plate has some room for them to prepare for the next phase of their life. And that's the most important part, man. Everybody wants to play basketball, but basketball ends. And everybody's not going to be a GM. Everybody's not going to be a coach. And you got to have another passion in your life, something else you want to explore and try, because you can do it. When that woman said about 6 years ago, shut up and dribble, she was talking to the wrong people, okay?
Yep.
Our guys are so smart and so capable of doing so much more than just dribbling. And I believe that with all my heart, and I believe it because I was able to do it.
Just continuing on, I think, the programs you've had. So in these programs, I guess my question for you is, what is something that you know of that these athletes, not only the ones in the NBA, because it's a new era. You got NIL that's going on. You've got a lot of money floating around early on. That is very new and fresh. What's some of that advice that you would even give to them of like, here's how you can prepare yourself to figure out your next steps for life after the game, while you're even in the game in this
The
day and age?
most important thing for guys who are in college with the NIL and the portal, financial literacy is going to be critical. It's going to really determine the quality of life you're really going to have. Because you think about it, if a kid, let's say a kid is in school for 3 years and he gets $100,000 each year, right? Look how much money that is and what you can do with that. Now, you got to learn that you can't just be going out and buying everything that you want, but you can take care of everything that you need. And if you get your financial literacy together, it will lead to you being able to have some of the things that you want. That, to me, this NIL can be so destructive to so many guys. And I don't want to venture off into something else, but I just want to say that it could be misleading, okay? When I think about the kid that was in Illinois last year, the big kid who decided to leave and he went to Kansas State.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about, what is his name? I'm drawing a blank, but yes, I know exactly who you're talking about.
So Kansas State gave him $2 million. And I don't know what he's doing there, but at one game I'm flipping channels, I see he wasn't even playing. So, not only can you go into portal, but coach can say, I don't want you anymore, and you have to go in the portal. I was sharing last night, the night before last, of all the people in the portal, and I had it on my desk somewhere, 40% of the people that went into the portal the last 2 years are still in the portal. Okay,
40%.
So yeah, but you know what, that to me, that's because we feel so entitled. We feel like as soon as things don't go our way, whether a coach gets on our case, trying to coach us or what have you, then you want to run. You want to leave, right? That's not the answer. The answer has never been able to run. Now, obviously, there have been some situations that you know about, that I know about, that just didn't benefit the kid and he needed to leave. But that's not the majority, man. You got to take this tough coaching, this tough love, if you want to get better, just like your parents, right? Their parents give you tough love so you can grow and evolve and become a man, right? Be a self-sufficient man in society. So these kind of things are hurting, but the first thing is get your financial literacy together. And then I would tell players, the young guys, to please start thinking about where you want to go and what you want to do, but more importantly, how you going to get there, okay? Because if you talk to a young person that's in sports, they're going to say, well, I want to be an NFL player. I want to be an NBA player. Okay, all right. Well, there's a lot of responsibility and accountability that goes with that, okay? And what does that mean? When I listen to Gilbert Arenas, when I listen to Boozer, when I listen to Matt Barnes talk about their kids and the kind of work ethic and routine they put them through. Now, they have dads that played in the NBA. What about those kids who don't have dads that played in the NBA? Do you have somebody who's doing it because they want to help you reach your goal, or do they want to just tag along so they can be the beneficiary of something that you get? That's a tough decision to make, right? Because a lot of people don't have the kind of parents that have the foresight or the insight to be able to tell you which direction to go.
Yep.
So those kind of things are critically important to your success. And success should not just be determined if you play in the NBA, if you get a college scholarship. That's just part of your success. There's so much more to it, right? Because if you go to college and you don't play as much as you want, but you get a degree, you won, right? You won, okay? So, I mean, there's so many different variables to it. I'll morph into Lifelong Winners, which is the company that I started.
Yep.
Okay. A personal development model for athletes, right? We do the life skills, we do the transition plans, the personal branding, right? We're doing the networking. We do all those things because all of those things are going to help you go where you want to go, right? And help you stay there. But you got to have those soft life skills, knowing how to communicate with people, right? How to make decisions, right? That's going to benefit you, not for right now, but for the long term. So, there's a number of things you got to do, but I would say getting with the right person and the right people. And as an 18-year-old kid, that may be difficult to do, but there's got to be a mentor or a parent in your corner who can help you make those decisions, man, because these are tough decisions. And all that glitter ain't gold. You know that,
Sure
right?
ain't.
because
Absolutely.
we wouldn't have a portal if all the ain't go. All them people in the portal thought where they initially went was going to be the right place, and it's turned out not to be the right place. But I'll say this: the other part of it is it's a great opportunity for guys to still to get paid now. That we didn't get paid. I think we got $35 a week, man. You know.
Hey, you got paid. That's you
Let me
got
say this.
paid, but yeah, it's a gap now.
A huge gap. I don't know if you know the story that my roommate and teammate made the jerseys when we were in school, designed the jerseys that
Oh,
the
really?
club. Bo Ellis, you don't know that?
No, I did not know that.
Oh, Jabari, you gotta get him on, man. Look, this is my teammate. So we're at Marquette. We always had great uniforms. Everybody loved our uniforms. We get two or three
Sure
a year.
did.
Okay,
Yep.
so the referees were always telling our team, man, put your jerseys in your pants, put your jersey. And Bo was taking fashion design. Okay, so I went to Coach McGuire. I said, Coach, Bo's at fashion design. Why don't you let him design the uniforms? Because our coach was the vice president of this apparel company. He
Okay.
said, oh, well, draw it up, Sam. Maybe we'll try and see if it works. Bo and our roommates. So he's making these designs and stuff, showing them to me. I'm like, that don't work. All right, that don't work. He designed. So he finally come up with, I'm like, I like it, man. I like it. The next day we take it to Coach. Coach says, okay, let me take it down to the company, see what they could do. That's how the jerseys came outside.
Oh, wow.
And my
You
people
got
don't know that. I know one of the schools that followed us was DePaul, right? They followed us and tried to wear they did wore them, not tried. They wore their jerseys outside. But the NCAA, let me tell you this. This is crazy. The NCAA, 3 years after that, outlawed the jerseys because they said we had a recruiting advantage on other schools. Can you
Oh,
believe that?
wow. Now that's hilarious, especially in this day and age of what fashion and footwear and how those all influence
Hey man.
decisions.
But yeah, that's how those jerseys came about. And the crazy part, think about the NIL money he would have got for that.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm
By
talking about
doing all
millions
of
of dollars.
that,
Oh man.
easy,
Oh man.
easy.
Oh man. Yeah.
All the time has changed. The
Yep.
times have
Yep.
changed.
Yep.
Oh
And like I
man,
said, I'm glad for the players to be able to make some money on their name engine likes because everybody else made money off of them. It's about time they get paid for it. So kudos to
absolutely.
them guys, man. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, look, Dr. Lloyd Walton, you have an amazing story. We can look for your documentary to be aired in April, so we're looking forward to that. Please keep us posted on when that information comes out. We'll definitely be shouting you out. With one thing that I'll ask before we get out of here, what is one quote or lesson or learning that you would share amongst those who may be listening in right now to help guide them in their journey themselves?
Let me share a couple things, if you don't mind.
No,
Okay.
go ahead. Right ahead.
In some cases in life, it's better to have more beginnings than endings. Okay. And I always tell this to my groups. Success is not final and failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that makes the difference. Okay. And five things that I live by that I give my young guys, and that is one, never give up on your dreams. Never give up on your dreams, man. I don't care what happens, right? If it's for you, you're going to get them. If you're willing to put forth the work, you will get it. Two, treat people the way you want to be treated. Three, laughter is the joy your soul needs in this unpredictable world. Number four, your health and information will predict the quality of your life. Read, get your checkups. Read and get your checkups. And last but not least, find your purpose and make a difference in the lives of others, and you will always be blessed.
There it is.
Yep.
I mean, you said it all in 5 bullets, and every last one of those are so important. So, again, Dr. Lloyd Walton, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your second half. This solely is a phenomenal conversation because this is solely the reason why the second half podcast even started, was to help current, former, and future athletes to figure out how to excel in their career. Because now what? When that question happens, it's a serious one. You got to answer. So again,
Absolutely, man.
thank you for being on.
Man, thank you very much for having me on, Jabari. I enjoyed our conversation. The name of the documentary is The Education of Lucky Lloyd. I will send you all the information when the time comes.
Yes.
And I will keep tuning in when I see it on, what is it, Instagram.
Yes, Instagram, YouTube, on all social media
okay.
platforms. So yes, be sure to do that. Again, make sure you check out on YouTube, follow, like, subscribe, share, and we'll be back with more episodes. Grab some merch, all that good stuff. We're out. Peace.